If you want Ohio State to beat Tennessee in the upcoming college football playoff round 1 game, then like the video. Should be every single person watching. So like it for me, please and thank you right now. The college football playoff is just around the corner, but we got to keep talking about the transfer portal. Some big updates coming in over the weekend. Let's start with running backs. USC transfer running back Quinten Joyner visited Ohio State over the weekend, and this is clearly one of OSU's top targets at the moment as they once again look to re-hit the transfer portal, given some potential losses coming down the pipeline for Ohio State at the position. Joiner was a notable target for Ohio State in the 2023 recruiting cycle. They were unable to land him. He goes to USC. He hasn't played a ton necessarily, and now the former 4-star, top 200 overall recruit is back in the portal. He had his visit. Sounds like it went well. Sounds like he's not necessarily done taking visits necessarily either, but this is clearly a top-end target for Ohio State. Joiner played a little bit this past year. And when he got the ball, he was pretty effective. It's college football, so 7.6 yards per carry is, really, 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 really good and not like unbelievably unheard of like the same way it is in the NFL, obviously. 63 carries, 478 yards, 7.6 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns. USC is kind of weird right now with all their own portal chaos going on at the moment. Miller Moss going to leave, which he wasn't good anyway. Joiner now in the portal as well. This is a very clear target for Ohio State. He's got 3 years of eligibility remaining, by the way. So the nice part is this would not necessarily be a rental. You could get him for at least 2 years as opposed to, getting one guy in for a year and then he's off to the NFL and doing the whole song and dance over again. This would give you a little bit more stability long term. It sounds weird to say because we're talking about recruits and transfer portal stuff, but this would be a potential multi-year addition for Ohio State. Now, there is another running back we'll talk about here in just a second, but running back, clearly a focal point for OSU and head coach Ryan Day. Name a running back that you want to get in the transfer portal. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. The other name here is Justice Haynes, who On3, 24/7 Sports, all have said that OSU is interested in, despite there not being a visit set up right now. He is the number 1 ranked running back in the portal because he was a 5-star recruit. Coming out again, the class of 2023 hasn't gotten a chance to do a lot for Alabama. 24th overall in that class, number 2 player from the state of Georgia. Again, when he got the ball, he was pretty effective. He was effective as a freshman back in 2023 when he had a good game against Michigan, and then Bama kind of went away from him, and I think kind of hurt their chance to win that game potentially. Now, he had a long run and a good game in one SEC game, but he was mostly bottled up beyond that. But Justice Haynes also never really got the ball at Alabama this year. He had one game in which he got more than double-digit carries, and that was early on the year against South Florida. Didn't have his best stuff. He had a good game against Missouri. 8 carries, 79 yards, and a score. Everything else was, I'll go through his SEC play right now. 2 for 17 against Wisconsin, not SEC, but Big Ten, so it counts. 6 for 35 against Georgia. 6 for 23 against Vanderbilt. 8 for 26 against South Carolina. 8 for 22. 8 for 23. 3 for 18. 7 for 20. Had 7 touchdowns, though, but he just never really got involved in the same way I thought he was going to. Now, some other schools to monitor here in the mix. It's the who's who. Michigan's involved, apparently. Ole Miss, South Carolina, Georgia. I think Florida could be a sleeper team here as well. There's a lot of teams that want Justice Haynes because of the pedigree and because of the flashes we saw for the Crimson Tide. Now, OSU having interest in a running back certainly makes some sense. Quinshon Judkins and TreVeyon Henderson both could be off to the NFL. I'm excited about James Peoples. I do think you want another more ready-to-make an impact player at the position. Bo Jackson, elite name, is a 4-star recruit. Isaiah West is a 3-star. There's talent in this running back room at the moment. But I do think that at least there's talent coming into the running back room. It's a little bit more of an uncertain group. So I think in general, Ohio State having interest here is not a surprise. And I think it actually would be a surprise if they didn't get at least one recruit or one transfer. Obviously, Anthony Rogers also a commit to Ohio State, the 4-star. So they got 3 guys coming in. They were a little bit thin in the room overall. Adding a veteran transfer, which is a weird way to say, but we're in free agency anyway, so it makes sense. I think was a logical outcome to expect here as we move forward and we start to get commits in the transfer portal for Ohio State. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks, the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 200 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Join now, because this holiday season, Prize Picks is giving away 2 free picks in December, and they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Picksmas. It's not just pro football. College football is available as well. Here's one of our Prize Picks slates for the OSU-Tennessee CFP game. Will Howard, more than passing yards. Carnell Tate, maybe a big game for him. And then you can throw in Bryant Wesco in the Clemson-Texas game, more than receiving yards as well. Do the flex play. That way, if you get one wrong, you still come out on top. Go over to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That is guaranteed, by the way. You don't have to win. Just got to play that first $5 lineup, and you get $50 instantly. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. That's prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS. The Ohio State offensive line transfer portal recruiting continues here. They kind of, under the radar, snuck in a visit with Rice offensive tackle Ethan Onianwa, who was a former 3-star recruit but had earned a starting role for Rice and is drawing notable interest from other programs. Iowa's been involved here. This is, again, another very clear target point for Ohio State. They want to find more offensive line help. They want to get impacts here, and they're making a move for Onianwa now. We also had interest from Oklahoma as well, by the way, which should not be overlooked necessarily either. He came off the visit to Iowa, by the way, and then snuck up to Ohio State for the visit as well. He had offers from SMU, Vanderbilt, but picked Rice. And there's some hope of offensive NFL potential here. I think that's why he's looking at bigger programs to get himself better hopes of making it to the NFL. Didn't get beat very much in pass protection. Barely 1 rep a game he was getting beat. And again, lesser competition. When you're doing that, though, it indicates you can hold up against better competition in the Big Ten, for example. So there's 3 notable visits we've seen then for Ohio State. Onianwa out of Rice, Isaiah World out of Nevada, elite name, and Josh Thompson out of Northwestern. And I suspect that Ohio State would like to get 2 of these guys, because Thompson's probably a guard. Onianwa and World are tackles. So if you could pair those together, that helps overhaul an offensive line room that is probably going to be in the market for help. You got Carter Lowe coming in. He's a 4-star. Offensive line takes time to develop and grow, so you don't want to be banking on a bunch of true freshmen playing, and you want competition and you want depth. If you can find talented players in the portal at one of the hardest spots to find it, the offensive line, you do that in a heartbeat. So as we look forward to 2025, since Josh Simon's off to the NFL, you'll lose Donovan Jackson, etc., what is your confidence level in the Ohio State offensive line? Scale it for me from 1 to 10 in the comments section. One more note before we go. Tavien St. Clair honored with his All-American, the All-American Bowl jersey. He'll be on the Navy side if he chooses to play. Sometimes those guys don't always play because they're committed, but he is a member of that group. That game is going to be played 1 p.m. Eastern Time, January 11th. It's kind of unfortunate that the All-American Bowl is not what it used to be with the way they've changed the signing dates of everything. This used to be a huge game because you got all these guys committing right before signing day, and they make their announcements, and now it's just not as impactful. But you can see some high school players before they make the jump over to the CFBs and CFB teams. There's been a lot of success. 18 Heisman finalists, all Pro Bowl selections, draft picks, etc. And some notable Buckeyes have won MVP in this game. Some names you know: Ted Ginn Jr., Beanie Wells, Terrell Pryor. it bodes pretty well, I suspect, for St. Clair. This is been a long time since Ohio had a top quarterback recruit. He's now committed to Ohio State. Not going to start next year. Maybe it's even 2 years from now, 3 years from now. But he wanted to be at Ohio State. I don't think he's a transfer portal flight risk. I think it's a matter of when, not if, he emerges as a great Ohio State QB. Next great Ohio State QB. We'll be live for Ohio State versus Tennessee in the CFP first round. Do not miss out. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/GoBucks.